You're all set. Go ahead.
Uh, Hi, I'm Brooke. I'm a senior at Washington Liberty. I swim at Bob and Tori's Yorktown Night Group, and in the fall, I'll be attending the University of Miami to study meteorology. So I started swimming for York at the start of my freshman year, um, 4 years ago. And before that, I had swum for 6 years with Competition Swim Clinic with Lou Sharp. And so I joined York because in the June of my 8th grade year, Lou passed away unexpectedly from a heart attack. And so I didn't really know if I wanted to keep swimming. And like, obviously I was going to keep swimming in the summer, but I wasn't really sure what I was going to do for club swim or winter swim. So that was the first time that I had ever experienced someone in my life who I was close to passing away. And it was definitely one of the hardest things I ever went through. Um, and so that June, we finished out Competition Swim Clinic. And then when it closed for good, I wasn't really sure where I was going to go. But my summer team, there was a girl named Bryn Edwards who I had swum with since I was 8 on my summer team. I had swum with her at competition swim clinic, and I knew that a few years ago she had started swimming for York. And so at like the end of July that year, I asked her, I was like, hey, I know that you swim for York, like, would you recommend it? Like, what's it all about? And she was so excited that I was interested and was like, you can come with me to a practice, like a summer, like morning practice. And like, she's like, it'll be so much fun. You can see what it's all about. And so I took her up on it. And I think it was like the week of divisionals. And I showed up at like 7:15 at Yorktown for like a 7:30 practice. And I quickly realized that no one comes early. Um, And so my mom and I sat in the lobby and everyone walked in. It was like 7:15, 7:20, 7:25, 7:30, 7:35, and Bryn still wasn't there. And I could see that they had started practice, and I didn't know a single person there and was extremely scared. But about 7:40, Bryn finally shows up. We go in, she introduces me to Bob, and I get in back of her lane, and I was so confused because I had never really done club swim. I had no idea what Bob was saying. I would just kind of look around, push off the wall, hope I didn't mess up. And then about 5 minutes in, my cap ripped and I had to climb out and get a new one. And I think Bob said something along the lines like, well, I've never scared anyone off that quickly before. um, and so I made a great first impression, basically, is the moral of the story. But at the end of practice, Bob had brought in that day a box full of old York shirts, and he wanted everyone to take one. And I had no affiliation with the team, had just shown up, and Bob still encouraged me to take one. He was like, no, you're a part of our family. And his welcome, like how he welcomed me into York meant so much to me because I didn't really know what I was going to do after Lou died. And it just meant the world to me. And so that fall, I signed up for Bob and Colin's Tuesday, Thursday night group at Yorktown. And going into it, I knew practically no one since Bryn was really the only connection I had to York, and she had graduated that year. Um, the only person that I came with was Eleni, and she and I had known each other since I was 8. I had always swum with her and through competition swim clinic, and to have her with me at York meant so much to me. And that first year, I will say that I didn't really, I have notes, get that involved. I would pretty much show up to practice, swim, leave, and do it over again. And the only girl that I knew at York was a girl I swam with in Elaine. Her name was Marielle. She graduated about 2 years ago. Um, and it wasn't until that year on senior retreat that I really got to see what York was all about and see the family that York is. Um, and so Marielle took me under her wing that weekend, and I met two of my best friends that I made on York, Claire Sawyer and Hallie Vance, who both graduated last year. Um, and that weekend I made a group of friends that made York really feel like a family. And retreat really showed me how much this team is a family. And prior to York, I had done competition swim clinic, but I had also for about 4 months tried AAC, and it almost scared me off of ever joining another club team again because I didn't have that great of an experience. And to see what the difference between the community that I found on York and what I had experienced before was just something that made me smile so much. And the support and camaraderie that I've found in York has meant the world to me. And I think it was my sophomore year on retreat, something that really stuck with me was hearing all the seniors talk about the like hilarious stories that they had to tell. And for me, up until then, my involvement with York was go to the practices, go to maybe one meet a month and swim maybe 2 events and then leave. But hearing the seniors talk about how much York meant to them, I knew that I had 2 years left and that I wanted to make the most of them. And so over the last 2 years, I've really tried to push myself out of my comfort zone. And one way I did that was the last 2 years I signed up for the Hokie meet. I had never done a travel swim meet before, and I really had a really good time. It's hard to, if you're like me and you're not super dedicated for swim. I swim with twice a week at practice, and I do high school swim and summer swim, but I'm not someone who's getting up every morning to go to morning practice. It was hard to swim that much at Hokie, but it was an experience that I'm so thankful for, because everyone is there to cheer you on. And even though your coaches might not be there, the coaches are there for you, and they really want you to succeed. And so Hokie was something that pushed me out of my comfort zone, but made me love York even more. And I also forced myself, especially this year, because I knew it was my senior year, to go to as many practices as possible, because since I drive myself to practice, it's often easy to say, oh, I have homework, I can't go today. But I wanted to make sure that I made the most out of my time on York, and I'm so glad that I did, especially given our current situation. And I will say that coming into this year, I was really unsure about what my experience was going to be, because a lot of my friends that I made had graduated, and Eleni, who I mentioned earlier, had decided to go to private boarding school this year, so she wasn't able to be on York. And I wasn't really sure what the social aspect was going to be like for me, but I was able to really grow a lot closer to like my lane buddies, like Elena, Mimi, and Emma. And I have just had a really great 4 years on York, and I'm so glad that even though it's not ending like I thought it would, that I had the time that we did have. And one of the most amazing parts about York, in my opinion, is the coaches, because they're always there for you, even if you're not their swimmer, like you don't swim at their practice. you go to a meet, the coaches are always there for you. They want to know how you swam, and they're always there to give you advice, or even if you didn't swim your best time, they're always there to give you a pat on the back, let you know that they do see the work that you're putting in, and they're proud of you. And that it also applies to outside of the pool too. I've run into coaches at District Taco, Target, summer meets, high school meets, and they always give you a smile. They always say, "Hi, how are you doing?" And that means so much. And even if it's not a smile, they want to know, how are you doing? And if you're not doing okay, they really want to know. They want to know how each and every one of you are doing, because they care so much about the kids. Personally, Bob has meant so much to me over the last 4 years, because after losing Lou and losing someone who was like a grandfather to me, Bob has really just always been there. And I've said it now a lot of times, but it has meant the world to me. And I don't think I can really put into words how much York has meant to me over the last 4 years, because it's pushed me to keep swimming at some of the hardest times of my life. It's provided, I told myself I wasn't gonna cry, an escape from just a bad school day, or the coaches are always there when you just need someone to talk to. And I told her I would say this to my senior goodbye, but Megan Long has been pestering me for 4 years to try morning practice, and I never caved, and I'm proud of that. And I'll also miss Dum Dums on Thursdays. But I just could never imagine that this is how my time on York would end. But even though we're not getting the traditional end to our season, I know that York will always be there, and we're always a family. So yeah, that's it.